Hey, hey. See that fancy little countdown like you brought us in on? That was
Hey, everybody.
nice. Well, hi, hey, hello. This is the first edition of our Threat Thursday Lives that we're going to be doing here at Scythe. I am Trey. I'm the head of Scythe Labs, and that super long title you see on the scroll bar, that's my official title if you care. Over here beside me, I've got my deputy, Tyler Casey. I'll let him say his piece.
Hey, everybody. I'm Tyler Casey over here at SCYTHE. I am the detection engineer under SCYTHE Labs.
So this is a fun little project we're going to be kicking off. This is the first of hopefully many. We're going to take some time every month at a minimum to sit down, go live, walk through some really cool threats that maybe we're building, we've seen kind of in the wild, and we want to show off to you guys. And just kind of gives us a cool little outlet to have chats, discussions, show some cool things off, and let y'all watch us play with the Scythe platform for a little bit. For this week, we are talking about TrueBot, right, Tyler?
Yes, we'll be talking about the TrueBot malware.
So they are super fancy. They have been popping back up in the news here lately. The TLDR of it is it's a new modular, not new per se, new as in since 2017-ish is what reporting has, but it's a modular malware variant that's available for purchase as an exploit kit, and it's kind of popping up everywhere. Its main use has been as an initial access vector and then a dropper afterwards. But we got a quick little spiel about it. We can dive into it a bit, and then we'll show off some of the stuff we built. So this variant itself, all of our reporting for this is coming from the SCYTHE release that came out in, was it the fall of last year, right? Where they kind of show off some of the new things that's going on with it and some of the updates that have happened. Some other really cool reports that have been put out there on it, and we can share links to all of this later in the comment sections and everywhere. But Carbon Black and both Talos both put out really good reports explaining what's going on with TrueBot, how it's being used by other groups and actors, and they're just awesome write-ups. A lot of actionable intelligence in there that you could use to emulate and do these same similar actions. But
I'll go ahead and drop those in the chat too, so everybody can see it.
Awesome. So the biggest thing here is that initial access vector piece of it. Follow-on actions are really including host and network discovery behaviors, a lot of data hunting, archival, and exfiltration, and C2 comms. It's been known to have more than one C2 comms channel. Usually have a direct one where it'll get the initial access instructions from, do its thing, and then it has a secondary C2 comms channel where it gets any follow-on instructions or new things it should do. People that we've been seeing use it or that have been reported on, you've got several different groups. The biggest one and most recent one I think that's interesting is Raspberry Robin. The whole campaigns that it's being used within is also using TrueBot. So we're seeing a lot of these starting to kind of compound and work together. So like Raspberry Robin pulling TrueBot, which is pulling CLOP ransomware, and they're starting to kind of piece it together. And I mean, that's kind of the whole premise behind these being modular, right? For targeting hasn't been bad. We've seen, at least since 2022, the main focus and the main presence of the botnet surrounding TrueBot is around Mexico, Pakistan, and Brazil. It's really started its push, especially since the reporting from SCYTHE, into the US and into Canada over the last few months. So it's getting really prevalent. Tyler, you want to talk to the delivery and the kind of follow-on actions and stuff?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to hit on too. Trey had mentioned it. So I was doing another emulation IOC for Raspberry Robin, which utilizes the TrueBot as a dropper for it to do the follow-on actions. That's actually how we first discovered it, and it kind of all comes together with some of the other emulations that we're making. So you can piece them together and kind of show the Raspberry Robin into the TrueBot dropper for follow-on malware if you're doing these emulations through your Scythe instance. But excuse me, for the delivery, the malware is typically delivered through phishing attempts, and then most recently it's been used in conjunction with a vulnerability in Netwrix Auditor, which is CVE 2022-31199. I'm sure everybody has all those memorized. So they've been exploiting that vulnerability and then downloading the TrueBot malware and then having that load additional malware later on. We'll get into kind of more of what TrueBot does behavior-wise in the emulations that we're going to go through it in a minute. And then TrueBot originally started from just old-fashioned USB plugging in auto run from the USB.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Just you can see how it's progressed in the reporting over the years, going from that just USB little dropper, which people say doesn't work anymore, but now we're seeing it becoming prevalent again. Kind of moved into the whole phishing campaign, drive-by premise, and now it's pushing even further into other types of campaigns and delivery methods. So it's been pretty interesting. And I believe the
Definitely
most recent
interesting.
one was a CVE, right?
Yes, yeah. So definitely interesting from it going from being totally reliant on a user doing some kind of execution, whether it's plugging in the USB or clicking on the link or downloading whatever, to going to just a server-side exploit through the vulnerability.
So that's a quick TLDR on the whole TrueBot malware, what it is, who they've been targeting, what's been going on. We want to have a little bit of fun here, and we'll show off what we've got built as a threat. We'll let you guys get to see it run, see how it works, and then we're going to talk through some of the detections and alertings. So Naki, if you can throw my screen up, I would appreciate it. Boom, there we go. So y'all can all see us, we're fancy. And SCYTHE. So if you've never seen the SCYTHE platform before, this is the basic campaign dashboard, what it looks like. I'm going to go in here and go ahead and pull out the TrueBot IOC campaign we have created. TrueBot. Create a campaign from this threat. And if you guys can see, if you've never played with it, this is super easy to kind of run and just go with. Make some quick customizations. Heartbeat. Make this a little fast so that we're not sitting here on a stream just waiting all day. Do some randomization. That looks like a good timestamp. All right. It's all there. So let's create this campaign. So just a quick kind of talk and walk through when we're looking at the testing IOCs that we have here. It's doing quite a few different things. A lot of it you can see is the initial directory creations and gathering of system information, process information. We have it follow on so that it's safe for you guys when you utilize it in your testing. It's going to create a bunch of files in a directory, make them a certain size, and name them something random. This is being done because this is how we're going to simulate and show the exfiltration of documents by the malware. We're doing this so you don't have any potential IPs being pushed out of your environment, moving into your SCYTHE instance or wherever you happen to be moving data to and from. You could do it to the SCYTHE host, you could do it to a redirector, whatever you want it to do. But we've set it up this way so that it's a little safer for you and it's not doing any kind of data exfil that would cause an incident for you. Once it gets through all of this, you can kind of see it's doing, this is actually a really cool piece, Tyler. You want to talk to step 13 and why it's doing it this way?
Yeah, sure. So give me 2 seconds to pull up on my side. Sorry, buddy, it logged me out. Change password. Trey, you want to pull it up?
I've got it. It's live on the
your
thing.
Screen, and I'll see it.
Yeah, it's up.
All right. So for step 13, what it's going through and doing in there, issues my screen. So we're using Upshell, which is the unmanaged PowerShell that SCYTHE uses. It's the module that SCYTHE has. So it's running PowerShell without actually calling for PowerShell. It just calls for the DLL to have it run. And what step 13 is doing is it is capturing all of that, all of the info that we had through the discovery procedures, which are the who am I and the IP config and things like that, system info, and it is going through and base 64 encoding it so that base 64 encoding it and then placing it in that other file, that .json IP, So it is doing that because that is what the malware also does. So it goes through, it collects all the data, collects all of the host information, system information, network information, whatever it's going to gather. And then from there, it's going to base 64 encode in real time in memory, and then output that file with that moniker at the end, with that JSON IP at the end. And then you see that random string in the beginning. It should be a 13 character random string. So what that is used for is TrueBot uses that to uniquely identify each machine that they compromise or that they gather host information from. So the TrueBot actor, whatever threat actor is utilizing TrueBot, will take that 13 character unique identifier and use that to kind of organize what machines it's coming from, so they can kind of have like if they're running multiple campaigns or multiple operations, that's how they can identify who's who and what the follow-on actions are going to be. So that's how we emulate them doing that through our IOC.
Yeah, and then after that, we've got the typical exfil upload operations where it's going to pull that back. And then we've got a couple tests in here built for you. So lines 15 through 17. This is going to do a potential reach out to some of the known associated IPs or domain spaces and validate if it can reach it or not. For you guys running these IOC tests, if it comes back as successful, is able to reach it, you didn't get kicked away or blocked, now you know there's a potential IP allow listing and block listing issue on your boundary at a minimum. These are the kind of things that are low-hanging fruit, and putting them in can stop the potential connections and access. So if these do come back as positives for you, make sure that you're going through and making those changes and ensuring you can't reach back out to it. And then after that, we have it doing just a quick call and pulling down files. And then it is doing cleanup. So the directory we created in a central point, for the sake of the emulation, it's going to go back and wipe it. So there's no artifacts left after the end of it.
And the point of the cleanup is just so when you're running these emulations in your environment, you don't have a bunch of artifacts in there. You know, it's not going to make any services that persist past the one emulation that you're doing or the one campaign that you're running, but you can go in and delete those or change them. You don't have to have the cleanup steps in there. It's just so it's clean.
Yep. Trying to make life a little easier for you guys doing these emulations. So what I've done is I've grabbed the quick direct download link for this payload. I'm going to replace it here. And then we're going to give this a quick run. This is just doing the quick download for me of the payload itself. If I look, I should have something now, TT live. I do. So let's run that. Now, what'll be interesting, you'll start seeing stuff happening on the host once this runs, and simultaneously we'll see a new host pop up over here under the TrueBot campaign, and we'll see if the steps go or not. And there we go. It's active. We got our callback. All of our modules and stuff are loading. And then you see up here, you can see how the new directory got created, and there's the information's getting dropped into it. Yeah, so far it looks like we're not having any issues. These things are going. Created our path and random files, made our zip. It's a nice little feature. I like that this is built in here too while this is still running. Now the tags are doing kind of the auto update. So if we're using upshell, it's telling us what it's doing. We're obfuscating files or info.
It should be doing the C2 checks up there.
Yep. So
and
those are done.
Again, like Trey said, the C2 checks are really, you know, we gather the IOCs, whether it's IP or domain or whatever, and just have it in there just to go for a second. It doesn't actually go to the site. It just tests if it can reach it. And then that's so you're able to see if that is logged or even blocked, you know, on your firewall, or you can see if it's logged on your host machine, just to make sure that you have that visibility for it.
So it made its way all the way through the test, and from here, it did its cleanup. We can see my directory now is gone for the TrueBot emulation, and everything has completed. So for the emulation, the offensive side for us, it is literally that simple. A bit of time on the front end to create the emulation, and then you kick it off and watch it run. What we're going to do now is I'm going to stop my share, and Tyler's going to pull his up, and we'll see what this looks like on the detections and seam side.
Snobby, if you want to go ahead and push my okay. So here we have Sigma rule we're going to talk about, but before we do that, we'll just cover some of the detections or some of the behaviors of that we're going to try to detect to see if we can detect it if it was logged or not. So the system discovery command, I think it did who am I, IPfig, sysinfo, typical kind of stuff, that host name, things like that. We're going to look for suspicious archive creation, which was that zip of the sensitive documents that we made, those fake files that they're not fake, they existed, those dummy files that we made to emulate, sensitive data like maybe browser history or passwords or whatever. And we're going to try to detect the base.
Hey, Tyler. Let's take a second. You're glitching out. Let's give it a second to buffer.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, hold on 1 second.
You were talking in creepy, breaked up robot voice.
You hear me all right?
Yeah, you sound better now.
Okay.
There we go.
Odd. It's always something. So yeah, we're basically just gonna try to detect those behaviors. Another one is the bits admin to download additional payloads. So to do that, we present these detections as Sigma rules that we either create or we curate them from Sigma HQ. If you're interested in that, you should check out the Sigma talk that we did last month. Kind of goes over how to create the rules and read them, but that's for another time. But so in this one, so we have a Sigma rule here, screen, which is for the suspicious archive creation. So this will detect suspicious archive creation by an uncommon processes. So what does that mean? Basically, what this is doing is listed here that I highlighted. If the image ends in that, which for this rule is the varying versions of 7-zip, or Explorer, which is when you open like the File Explorer and you right-click and do send to zip. That's what would trigger that image being loaded. If it is one of those, don't alert on it. And then if the file name or the command line arguments it receives are zip, 7-zip, tar.wim, which is a Windows image file, or things like that, it will alert on it. So in layman's terms, this is looking for if you're making a zip and you're not using Explorer or 7-zip, it should alert on it. And then based off of your environment, you can just add to this tools that you use. So if you utilize other means to zip in a common way, then you would just add it to that. But so let's say it worked. So what we're going to do is highlight all of it, go over to uncoder. That's what I like to use. You can also use a SIG converter, but I like uncoder. So you just paste it in there. It's a Sigma rule. Going to go to select platform, scroll down to Splunk, because that's what we're using. And then we're going to translate it. And so what it's doing there is so it's converting the source to win event log star. In our specific instance, we're going to be looking at the sysmon log, but it doesn't really know that yet. It just knows that it's looking in the win event log based off of this log source right here. And we're doing exactly what I was saying before, looking for if the target file name or the command line contains those arguments and it's not from 7-zip or Explorer. So to test that, if it works, we're going to copy that part out. I'm going to go back to Splunk over here. So we're in Splunk over here. I'm going to put the search in, and we are missing. Sigma doesn't know what index you're in, so you need to specify your index. If anybody wants to put index equals star, don't. So put your index in there, and then we'll do just the last 15 minutes, and boom, we got something. But it doesn't really look super great in that, so let's table out the time. Let's do target file name. Let's do command line, and let's do image. And then I also like to put the parent in there beforehand just to see where it comes from, and then parent image. So let's see how that works. Okay, so in there, see we got the time. There is no target file name, which is okay. That's why we have it being target file name or the command line arguments. So we can see in here that tt-taclive.exe is the parent, and in there they're trying to compress the archive, which is all of these sensitive files .docs in there, and compress them into the sensitive data .zip. You see it's being launched from the image of PowerShell, which we can also see in the command line. So that is how you take so you have the emulation, you do the emulation, you pull out things that are behaviors that are detectable in there, create the Sigma rule or curate the Sigma rule and kind of alter it to what you need, translate it, you can throw it in Splunk, and then you can see if your detections actually work or not. Obviously for this, you have to have a lab that the lab is feeding the rules into Splunk, or not the rules, sorry, the logs into Splunk, which in our instance, we have the sysmon log, obviously, and then all of the security application system, etc., that are being fed into it. And then, so for the other behaviors, what we have for that is the Splunk dashboard that I made. So for this, it kind of covers the different ones that we talked about, and I'll get into all these. If anybody has any questions on them or how they work or wants to see more about them, just let me know in the chat and we can expound on them. But it'll go through, and we have the discovery actions here, which again are from the Sigma rules that we created, translated, threw them in there, and I save them as a dashboard just because it's easy to kind of tell at the end of the emulation that we have everything in there. I like to present it this way. The CMD is gathering system info, task list, and it's gathering the time. And this /TZ is interesting because it's the time zone that it's querying for, which I think is very interesting because who does that? Like if you're a normal user or you're an admin or something, I could see maybe if you're remoting into machines all over the world, you might run that to check something, but it should be pretty uncommon. So that should be something that would kind of make you think of what is happening here. This SVC host is launching. This is totally normal. It's just making a service connection. We have system info is running, system info, which we already see up here. Task list runs to pull all of the processes out. And then again, it just has the time with the time zone coming out. And then this works by all of the, I have a bunch of lolbass commands in there. So whether it's who is or ARP or system info or task list, just kind of like the living off the land techniques are in there. Then it has some exclusions. And then that takes us over to the archive creation, which is the collection technique or tactic. And you can see that the image of PowerShell is launching to compress the data. We kind of already went over that and how that works. And then that takes us to interesting one, which is the base 64 encoding. So the PowerShell base 64 encoding, which I was talking about earlier when Trey had the threat and the campaign pulled out. This isn't logged. And at first, it really bothered me. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. I was like, I know it's in there. I saw it happen. I wasn't sure why it was not alerting. And the reason for that is that upshell module I was telling you about, it is running unmanaged PowerShell. So it exists only in memory. So to get that alert, you would have to have some kind of EDR, some kind of endpoint detection and response tool, like maybe the FireEye HX or Carbon Black or something like that, to alert on things in memory. We also have Windows Defender turned off in our lab because we want it to run all the way through. We're not trying to see how good our antivirus is. So maybe Windows Defender has something they've really improved over the last couple of years where that would have caught it, and we could maybe ingest that log also. But that's why it's not there. I wanted to leave it in so we could kind of talk about why it wouldn't be in there, and it kind of just because it's not in there, it's okay. We still have other indicators that we can kind of put onto the MITRE ATT&CK framework for what the adversary did or what the malware did. And with that, it's okay to have some gaps. You're not going to have total coverage over everything, but we could probably fill in the gap that this base 64 encoding action happened. Maybe we could look for files written to disk, or we could look for maybe retune the PowerShell log and increase what that's logging. Maybe they've improved that to capture memory, or we can ingest some other tool or something like that. But I won't talk about what doesn't exist any longer. And then for the C2, this is just a simple DNS query. So it's just we have a list of IOCs that are IP addresses and domain names that we have in there. And if the system logs that there's a DNS query to that C2 IP address, it'll alert here. And we can see that the image from that was TT Live, which is what we expect, and the query name is the IOC of a former C2 that was utilized by TrueBot. And then next, that takes us over to the bits admin downloader. So this is utilized by TrueBot to download additional payloads and malware to be used on that victim machine. So it'll go, TrueBot will detonate, and it will do all of the discovery stuff. It'll capture a bunch of sensitive documents. It'll zip it, base64 encode, give it that UID I was talking about, that 13 random character .json IP file, which will be uploaded or exfiltrated to the C2. Once it does all that, it checks in, and then the C2 will tell it, okay, utilize bits admin to download the next payload, right? So in this instance, go ahead, Trey.
So I had a question from a Carol. So she's asking, what's the typical next stage of this? What is bits admin pulling in? And I think what we've seen realistically from reporting so far is it'll go, some other exploit kit pulls TrueBot, TrueBot does its thing, then it'll pull in. The one that's reported on most and seen the most so far has been CLOP Ransomware. And that's usually its next stage. It'll go into the actions and impact phase.
Mm-hmm. We've also, like I was saying in the beginning, I think I might have mentioned it, from doing a Raspberry Robin IOC emulation. The Raspberry Robin was downloaded by TrueBot in this bits admin. So in this example, we don't want to download any additional malware. We're only emulating TrueBot. We're not emulating a full campaign. It would do where it pulls down other stuff, and then we have follow-on actions. So for this, we just have it pull down an atomic red team test to pull down this license.txt file. But you can see from the command line argument, you could use bits admin as a living off the land technique. Transfer tells it to pull down, kind of like in like curl or wget, and then this is the bits admin job name, so it can be whatever. Priority high, that means do it now, and then pull down this txt file from the site and output it here in our TrueBot_emu directory where we have all of our other artifacts. But in a real campaign, again, you would pull down some kind of additional malware, whether it's the CLOP ransomware to then ransomware the machine, or Raspberry Robin to pull some other information, or CryptoMine, whatever it is that you're going to download. And then, so as far as the detections are concerned, that's pretty much how we do the detections, right? Our team creates the Sigma rule. We provide that to everybody with our IOC, and then that is how through the conversions what they look like. But I have further down here, just kind of, I like to have this as kind of like a show all that it's doing. So how these work is utilizing the name that you gave it when you ran it. So Trey named it TT Tech Live, TT for Threat Thursday, which is what everybody's in if you didn't know. With the parent command line of ttline.exe and the event code of 1, which in sysmon is process creation. So what this will do is just give us all of the processes that are created by TT Live. So we could see it has the bits admin that we talked about, the net time. It's got some of the cleanup steps in there. It's got the sensitive file compression archive. It still does not have that upshell of the base64 encoding I was talking about. Again, we're going to have some other tool in there to catch that. That's not going to catch here. And I have it statsed out in this way, so it's just the values of the command line by the parent command line, and then down here I have it just by time. So it's each individual command in time as it goes down It's got the parent image, parent command line, image, command line, and then the user over here. This is typically how I like to show command execution. I'll show you guys that real quick. So in this one, I have it just table out CMD, which for me is time, parent image, parent command line, image, command line, and user. I almost always show those when I'm doing something like this. So you can make like a macro and then call it that way. But this is what it's tabling out. And then again, it's just going index main. The source is sysmon event code 1, which is process creation. Then the parent image or parent command line, or in this instance, I have command line just to try to catch everything, is tt taclive.exe. And that's what we're seeing here.
Oh, cool. That was a pretty solid breakdown. Thanks for going through that, Tyler.
Yes, sir.
I'm not seeing anything else pop up for questions at the moment. So we can, while we're kind of going through, we'll close out. And if anything pops up, I'll let you know. Let's talk about where this stuff comes from real quick. So we have a service over here at SCYTHE Labs called Empower. And within this is where we're building out all of these extra threat emulation campaigns, the IOCs like this TrueBot one we showed off today. So if you are a current customer and these are the kind of things that you're interested in, come talk to us, talk to your customer rep, or even shoot us a quick email. We'll get you connected and get you more info on Empower. If you're not a customer and you like what you saw with SCYTHE, what we were doing, let us know, reach out. We're more than happy to talk about it with you. For workshops, as you see down here on our fancy scrolling little banner, you can see we've got some more coming up. We have at the end of this month a detection engineering workshop on the 26th. That'll be led by us again. So if you want to get some new cool tips and tricks, maybe you've never really built your own detections before, this is a great time to learn. So we will be doing that. And the last but not least, Tyler, you want to tell them about Unicon and what all we've got going on there?
Yeah, I was just throwing our emails in the chat real quick in case anybody wanted to reach out to us. Boom, got that in there. Yeah, so we have Unicon coming up. It is on National Unicorn Day, which I believe is April 9th. We'll have to double check the dates. Hopefully I got the right date and Naki doesn't hurt me. But we're going to have Unicon. We got a killer lineup. We have Dave Kennedy. We've got Leslie Carhart, Hacks for Pancakes. We've got Jake Williams, who's Malware Jake on Twitter or X. Bryson, our CEO, is going to be talking. The head unicorn is going to be there. It's going to be awesome. It's got a lot of really great people that I think most of us probably know or have heard of. I know I follow these guys on Twitter for forever. I'm super excited to get to virtually meet them and be a part of something with them. So go ahead and register. We're also we have the link down there in the scroll bar. We're going to be giving away some Unicon swag. So go ahead and register. I've heard that if you register early, you might get double entries into the swag jar. So you might get a sweet quarter zip like I've got on, or a SCYTHE shirt like Trey has, or I'm sure I've got some other SCYTHE stuff all over the place. So go ahead and join. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a good talk. It's totally free. It's virtual. You can join from anywhere. It's going to be a really good time. It's going to be fun.
So for a quick closeout, Naki, can you share my window up here real quick? I just wanted to show them an example of what like the knowledge base looks like with the TrueBot IOC that you've got here created. We'll give you a quick breakdown of what it is, some fancy little AI generated art there. I'm sure everybody's all about that nowadays. We tell you what it's about. We give you a quick download spot. We give you key features, and we've done these awesome breakdowns, my attack flows, I guess you will, so you can see what it looks like, what it's doing, and the steps it's going through. I know some people think more visually than the list-based or like just reading the threat profile. The picture is better for me. I like having pretty pictures.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So from there, we also give you a breakdown. Okay, what detections were included? What can you use? What T codes do these all correspond to? And then Tyler includes some kind of examples of showing where these are working and what's going on. You guys, obviously, you saw this in the lab, so it's no surprise to you. But we include all of this information in here, so you have solid examples, a write-up, all of the rules and detections we've created or we've sourced from like the Sigma HQ project, other places like that. So I just wanted to make sure you guys got a quick chance to look at that because it's really interesting. There's a lot of work going into these, and I hope people are taking advantage of them. And with that, I think we can close it out if there's no more questions, Naki. So we will be running these more than just this once. This one's been fun. I've enjoyed playing and showing off what we can do here. We will see you guys all again here soon.
Thanks, guys.